Welcome back, guys. This is going to be a fun episode because I did see a great amount of excitement when the teaser of this tutorial was launched. And this tutorial is going to be on Firebase integration into a Swift iOS to-do app. I'm planning to make it an MVVM version because there are so many other basic level tutorials available already, which basically does it using plain Apple MVC, which I'm not a big fan of personally. Also, this episode is going to be specifically focusing on Firebase Cloud Firestore, which helps you store and sync data at a global scale. So, what does Firestore bring? There are 3 4 points which are maybe interesting to know about Firestore, which are like first being Cloud Firestore is a NoSQL document database that lets you easily store, sync, and query data for your mobile and web apps at a global scale. Second being Cloud Firestore ships with mobile and web SDKs and a comprehensive set of security rules so you can access your database without needing to stand up or set up your own server, which is a great thing. Third being with Cloud Firestore, you can automatically synchronize your app data between devices. Users can access and make changes to their data at any point, even when they are offline, which I'll demonstrate when I'll be doing this to-do application which I'm building. And final point being maybe these are the critical ones which I saw maybe interesting about Firestore. The fourth being strong user-based security. So Firestore claims to restrict data access based on users' identity data, pattern matching on your data, and more. So that's pretty much about this Firestore is, as well as Firebase Firestore is integrating into our app. So let's just get started with this tutorial. Let's start by configuring the Firebase project, starting from our project. And then I have already created my project called Let's To Do. So I'm just going to make a sample one right now so that you know how to even create the configuration or the JSON or the plist file which is required for connecting with the Firebase database. So I'm just showing you for step-by-step things, like it'll give you 3 steps to actually create your project. So I have already created something called as Let's Code Easy for myself. So if you want your own project, you'll have to create your own and then continue with that. So once a project is created, it might take like a little while, maybe 10 seconds or something before the project gets created, and it'll generate it'll start giving you options to customize the SDK at that point. So let's just see that now. Still finishing up. That's done. So your project is created now. So once that is done, you go to the project screen, the dashboard, and then you can just choose. For my case, it is an iOS application. So from there, you can start registering your project or the app. You already know what's a bundle ID. So if you already have created for my project, bundle ID is maybe I can just change that is not the one. If you are creating something like a sample to do, then it should look like something like this. For my case, it's going to be Let's To Do. I'm just keeping that. So in your case, it's going to be, let's say, whatever project name that you are going to give. So I'm just giving this as sample to do, and the rest of the things are optional. You don't need to maybe create those things. And then register your app. It'll give you option to download the Google services info.plist file, so which is nothing but it keeps some information to connect to the from the SDK to the server side, which is the Firebase side. So if you're using Firebase Cloud Firestore, then it'll have that information here. So that's pretty much what it is. You just need to download and then include it. I'll be showing you how to include that in the project. So once that is done, go to the next, and then it'll ask you to install Firebase analytics. It's more talking about analytics, but whatever we need right now is to include the very specific things to use Firestore. So for that, I already have a pod file. Let's today I already have the Google service info playlist. I'm going to include those two into my existing application. So don't worry about this. If you're concerned that I have already created an application and then trying to, let's say, build on top of it, then don't worry. This project tutorial is already available called Table View MVVM. There is a project which was built using MVVM architecture, which I have already uploaded as part of my tutorial series. I will share that link so that you can refer if you need to know how to create an application like this, a to-do application which just uses plain view models. And then I had even created something using Realm database to actually store it, but then this is my very plain one which does not use any persistence at this point. It just has a view model, which is like a to-do view model, and each of those cells are being represented using this to-do item presentable, which will be configured using to-do item view model. So interested with this approach, if you want to know how to create this project, don't worry, I'll share that link of that tutorial. Go there and then have a look at it. Otherwise, this is going to look something like this right now. Every launch, let's say, it's not going to persist whatever I have already added. So it does not have any persistence. So whatever we are trying to build or bring in here is persistence along with syncing the data onto the server side. So right now, whatever it loads is something I have hard coded, or I'm just populating it from the view model itself, like 3 items. Whatever I have added here is what is being shown here. So washing clothes and stuff. So this is what I have right now. So it does not persist anything. You don't even see it syncing. Let's say if I add something over here, like movie plan, if I've added it, it just gets added into one app, but it does not sync into the other one. So with Firebase integration, you'll see that whatever we add or whatever modification that we do here, let's say some item is already done, it just goes at the bottom, but it does not get reflected on the other app where I have already let's say logged in. So let's continue with this. Like whatever we are going to do is right now, let's start including Firebase. So we don't need this. Instead, whatever I'm going to include is, first thing first, let me go and add a pod to this project. For that, just go to the location of your project and just say pod in it. So that will generate you a pod file. Open that. It will not have anything. It just gives you a placeholder for where you can add your pods right now. So let me just go back and open an already created pod which I will be using. Which I have already created this project, and then I have included Firebase. So 3 things I need: Firebase core, Firebase Firestore, and an extended library just for the sake of Swift users, where I'll show you what it does. It allows you to save your content using codable Swift struct objects. So that's what this does. This Firebase Swift Firestore Swift, that library. So I'm going to include these 3 right now in the project. That's included. So all that I need to do now is go back to the terminal, do a pod install. That's done. So pod is installed. So these 3 things: Firebase core, Firebase Firestore, and Firebase Firestore Swift. These 3 pods you need to include so that you get the SDKs specific to Firestore. So that's done. Now I'll have to close this. Before that, let me just open that location, because I need to now launch the workspace instead of the project. I'm gonna stop all the process which is running right now, and then just open the workspace. It's still the same project, just that we have included pods right now. Let me also just run these things. The emulators, simulator for Pro. Okay, I don't need Pro Max. Let me just run iPhone 11 Pro. It's gonna take a little bit. So let's just go back to our steps. So we are done with the pod install step right now. So next step is like initialization code, which we need to add. Let's do that. Let me just run this before that. Or we just go there and just do that. So I have the app delegate. So if you have created a newer project with Xcode 11 plus, then you will see that along with app delegate there will be a scene delegate, but don't worry, you can just include that in the app delegate itself. So let's go here, grab this piece of code. It needs an import of Firebase. Import Firebase. It's still there. Okay, it's there. And then we need to do a firebase.configure. Let me just call Firebase app.configure functions. Just need it. That's done. Still compiling because we have added some pods. It's taking that time to compile. Once that is done, maybe we can just launch, and then is that the last step? Like, this is my add initialization code. That is pretty much done. So I just need configure. Then final step is to check if the app has communicated with the server. So Firebase need to communicate to the app. Right now it will not work because I have configured it with something called as sample to do. That is not what my configuration is right now. It's called let's to do. So let me also, I missed out that part right now. Let me also include the plist file which is generated, which we downloaded earlier. So also I need to include that in this project. Let me include that. Copy items. That's included. It will have some sensitive information like it has client ID, reserved client ID, API key, things, and all, even the bundle ID which I had created. It's called let's to do. So it's not matching with whatever I have created right now. So only thing I can try checking is change and configure the already existing one and show you what happens here. So I'm gonna just close this. So this is done. I can just go back to let's to do. If it says that's my let's to do, does not show me. Okay, it just shows me everything. So normally if I had not configured it, it would have given me this step to actually see whether it's connected by, but if you have added your project specific things, then it should ideally show you whatever you need. So I can even show you, this is my database. It's going to be Firebase, Cloud Store Firebase. So this is what it is. I just couple of things added, and maybe I can just delete it for the time being to use, because we are just gonna start fresh. So we are already in the my projects database section, which shows you the database. There's nothing right now. There is no collection. There is no document right now. So this is what it looks like. Okay, it crashed. Got exception. Let's see what's going on. Firebase core, it did not find a Google service info plist, so perfectly valid. We just added it after we ran the application, so crash is valid. So let's again run this, clear this thing. I guess it's pretty much what it was looking for, so it is matching with whatever I have added as a bundle identifier. So it should now work. It should not give me any problems right now. Yeah, so it's showing me all those three things which I have actually statically added here. That's what it is showing. So whatever we are going to right now do is to start configuring Firebase in the application. So let's do that in the next episode.